Hey everyone, your favorite neighborhood pants is back with another video. This will be an all-encompassing artifact video that discusses each substat, how they work, and how I recommend using them, so that you can hopefully have an easier time deciding what to keep and sell and where to equip the artifacts that you have. If it gets to be too long, I'll break the video into parts because I know y'all have small attention spans, and that's okay. I know my videos are a little boring because my friends tell me they are. Looking at you, Carissa and Mac and others. With all that said, there's timestamps in the video, so feel free to skip wherever and let's get into it. Alright, so just a quick TLDW on how I recommend using artifacts. Generally speaking, the best substats to get are decreased damage from X and additional damage effects. So for the attribute artifact, the left side that you get from Steel Fortress, look for damage reduction from whatever the opposing stronger element is. So if it's a fire monster, look for decreased damage from water. I personally like to look for a second decreased damage effect from some neutral element. So again, in our example of fire, I would look for decreased damage from water would be my primary goal, but also a decreased damage from either fire, light, or dark. I try to have at least 2 damage reduction effects on my left side artifact. For the monster type artifacts, the right side from Punisher script, look for additional damage effects. So additional damage effects are true damage, so they significantly improve the damage output from your monsters. Again, I often look for at least 2 different additional damage effects on the right side artifact. Now, this is just very general advice that will work for most monsters in the game. It is by no means universal to each and every monster. Skill-specific accuracy, for example, is fantastic. But with all that said, let's talk about all these subs in more detail. Alright, so decreased damage from X very simply reduces the damage received from that element by that percentage. So if you had a 10% damage reduction, something that would normally deal 10,000 damage would now only deal 9,000. A simple way to test this is with a monster that ignores defense like Lushen and hit the same monster with and without a damage reduction artifact applied, which is exactly what I'm doing in the video behind me. One thing to note is that damage in Summoner's War always varies by 5% or plus or minus 2.5% in either direction, because this game doesn't have enough RNG already, right? So that's why you aren't seeing an exact 10% damage reduction and why you always see damage vary in Summoner's War. But if you average out a bunch of trials, you'd see about a 10% reduction. Again, I try to have all my left side artifacts with at least 1 damage reduction effect, usually from the element that would normally target the monster, except for some niche cases, usually like specific offenses that I use against specific defenses. But anyways, I think around 90% of my left side artifacts have this kind of effect. Certainly all the monsters I use on my guild and siege defenses. Okay, so additional damage effects, as I said earlier, are true damage, but what does that mean? It means that whatever the value of the additional damage is, just gets added to what the original damage would have been. So if you have 10% additional damage by attack, and the monster has 1000 attack, well, 10% of 1000 is 100, so they will deal 100 more damage every hit, no matter what. They do not need a crit, doesn't matter if they glance, every hit will just get a bonus 100 damage, which really adds up for multi-hitters, because each one of their hits will get this benefit. So obviously pack on as much additional damage on your multi-hitters as possible. The reason Okeanos took over the RTA meta is because artifacts made him just so much better. I mean, before artifacts it was Hathor, right? But Okeanos being able to deal the amount of damage he does on top of the AoE stun is just insane. Now, this doesn't mean you should only give additional damage effects to your multi-hitters, it just means that they benefit from it significantly more than monsters with a single hit. That said, there are tons of multi-hitters in the game, so additional damage effects like decreased damage effects are what I try to put on each and every one of my monsters with very few exceptions. Alright, just as an example to show how good additional damage effects are, this is a Lushen Calculator I made for myself, and just to prove that it works, you can see here my damage per card is 16,100 on average, which can vary between 15,800 and 16,500. If you go back and look at the test I did moments ago, that's exactly where I was at. And if you look at the artifacts, this is what you'll see. If you look at his stats, this is what you'll see. And my towers are all max, so if you want to do the math yourself, you should get the exact same thing. Additionally, I can do 0.83 times this value since I put 17% damage reduction on Emma, and we see that it's about 13,500. Again, that's about the amount of damage I was doing to Emma after applying the wind reduction artifact on her. So math all checks out. So let's just blank his artifacts and put them all at 0. Okay, so I have all my artifact bonuses zeroed out here, and we see my damage is 14,247. So let's just assume equal rolls between skill 3 crit damage and additional damage by attack just to compare the two. So let's say 6 times 3 to get 18% skill 3 crit damage and 4 times 3 to get 12% additional damage by attack. So that'd be 3 rolls into each, 3 max rolls into each. So equal rolls, right? 18% skill 3 crit damage, that brings us to 14,852. So let's remember that number, 14,852. We'll zero that out, put in 12% additional damage by attack. And we get 14,923, which is bigger than 14,852. Was that what it was? 14,852. Yeah, I remembered numbers. So assuming equal rolls, additional damage by attack, for Lushen at the very least, is better than skill 3 crit damage. Alright, enhance increasing effects. At one point I thought that these were additive because they have the plus sign when you look at them, but unfortunately they are multiplicative like many things in this game. To test this, I ruined a Tyrannus at a defense where if the increasing effect would work one way, it would trap my copper, but if it worked the other way, it would not trap my copper. And that video is playing behind me now. So a defense buff is normally 70%, but with 10% enhance increasing effect, it becomes 77%, not 80%. So 10% of 70 is 7, 70 plus 7 is 77, not just 70 plus 10 to make 80. That said, these effects are great to couple with additional damage effects because additional damage effects are based on the stat. The buff increases the stat, and the enhanced increasing effect increases the buff. So they just couple on and add on to one another. This artifact, for example, is perfect for any DD you would pair with Megan, since she buffs attack and defense, thus making the additional damage effects by attack and defense even stronger. So anyways, moving on. Alright, so LifeDrain and Recovery I'm going to group together because there are some monsters with kits that make you ask if they want Recovery or if they want LifeDrain, or maybe they want both. I tested this sub using an unruined Grago, which is an idea I got from the man, the myth, the legend, Pro Dan himself. This way I will always deal the same amount of damage and thus heal the same amount each time with any damage-based healer. So since he's brand new, I decided to use Kaki, whose skill 1 says he will recover 30% of the inflicted damage. That's like, end quotes, 30% of the inflicted damage. I tested it 4 times, once with no artifact, once with skill 1 recovery, once with life drain, and once with both skill 1 recovery and life drain. And what I found is that they both work the same way. Kind of. So I'm going to talk numbers for the next few minutes, so if numbers hurt your brain, feel free to skip ahead. But if you want to know what I mean when I say kind of, I'll do my best to explain. So with Kaki's skill 1, I dealt 3,697 damage, which healed 30% or 1,109 HP without any artifact help. 30% of 3,697 is 1,109.1 to be exact. Rounding down, the math checks out nicely. So that test I'm A-okay with. Next, with 8% skill 1 recovery, I healed 1,197, which means recovery is multiplicative, not additive. So 8% of 30 is 2.4. 8 times 3 is 24, right? Move the decimal over. So 2.4% plus the 30% makes 32.4 total percent. 32.4% of 3,697 is exactly 1,197.828, which, like most things in this game, seems to round down to 1,197. So that math checked out nicely there. Here's where it gets weird. With 4% life drain equipped, I healed 1,146. Now, if life drain was multiplicative, and the same way recovery is, then it should be 4% of 30% is 1.2%, so I should heal 31.2%, or 1,153.464 exactly, which should round down to 1,153. But I'm getting 1,146. So it seems that life drain rounds down the multiplication rather than the final value. So instead of healing 31.2%, I heal 31%. 31% of 3,697 is exactly 1,146.07, which rounds down to 1,146, which is what I actually get in the test. Now, just to really mess up your brain with some Korean math, in the test with both 4% LifeDrain and 6% Skill 1 Recovery, I healed 1,214. So assuming they work in the same way I described a moment ago, 6% Skill 1 Recovery should be 6% of 30%, which is 1.8. So that would make the heal 31.8. 4% LifeDrain, we said, got rounded down to 1% instead of 1.2%. So that would make the total heal 30 plus 1.8 plus 1, so 32.8%, which 32.8% of 3,697 is 1,212.616 exactly, which should round down to 1,212, but I'm getting 1,214. Because Korean math, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure why LifeDrain is funky. It just seems like they round in a weird way. So, anyways, the next thing you may wonder about is damage-based AoE healers. So that heal the entire team, but based on damage. I tested this using Shaman, whose skill 1 says recovers the HP of all allies by 30% of the inflicted damage. Very similar wording, but now we're doing all allies. So what I found is monsters like this only benefit from recovery. LifeDrain did not add any benefit to the team or to Shaman independently. Some people were thinking maybe it would benefit Shaman himself, but not the others. But no, LifeDrain seems to do absolutely nothing for AoE damage-based healers, only for single target, or not single target, but damage-based healers that heal themselves, I should say. So like Rina, Laika, Miho, Kaki, those guys. So Drunken Masters and Shaman, they will not get that benefit from LifeDrain. So look for recovery for them. Alright, I thought I was done with this, but I wanted to test LifeDrain's effects on vampire runes alone and no healing effects from the monster itself. So I grabbed Garo and put a Violent Set on him. My Garo was unruned at the moment, but anyways, I accidentally tested with both LifeDrain and Skill 1 Recovery on my Garo, and the math made no sense. And then I realized that the Skill 1 Recovery had to have an effect. So again, I did 4 tests. Garo with no artifact help, Garo with just LifeDrain, and then with Skill 1 Recovery, and then with both Skill 1 Recovery and LifeDrain. And I see a similar effect of the math not making any kind of sense. So with no artifact help, 35% from the vampire set times the 3697, I'm getting, there it is, 1293.95, which in the test I'm getting 1293, so of course here it's rounded down. Everything seems to be okay there. And then with 7% LifeDrain on his left side artifact, we have 0.07 times the 35 gets us to 2.45, plus the 35 gives us 37.45, which for some reason they decide to round down to just 37. So 37 times the 3697 gives us 1367.89, which gets rounded down to 1367. That's what I get in my test. Everything's okay there. And then, oddly enough, Skill 1 Recovery seems to affect vampire runes. That's not something I would expect. I don't know if that's a bug or not. It seems weird, but with 6% Skill 1 Recovery, I'm getting 1,370 heal, which is weird. I don't know how the math happens. So 6% times the 35 would be 2.1. So 2.1 plus 35 would be 37.1. So 0.371. Multiply that by the 3697. And we are getting 1371.587, which gets rounded down to 1371. And the test I'm getting 1370. So that's slightly off. And we know recovery is supposed to be multiplicative, so I don't know why it would be slightly off. But also I don't know why it would affect vampire runes to begin with. That's just like, why is that happening? Now maybe since it's LifeDrain and recovery together, the recovery is rounding down, so 6% times the 35 would be 2.1 again. Let's say the 2.1 gets rounded down and it's just 0.37. Well, that times the 3697 is this, so that's not the 1370 either. So there's certainly some kind of funkiness going on. And then I tested with 11% LifeDrain and 6% skill 1 recovery, and I'm getting 1488, and that's just all kinds of wackadoodle. So 0.11 from the LifeDrain times the 35 because it's this. We know LifeDrain rounds down the multiplication, so that plus 35 is this, but that would get rounded down to just 38. And then the skill 1 recovery, no idea what it's supposed to do, but we'll just say 0.38 plus the 2.1, so it'd be 40.1%, right? So 0.401, multiply that by the 3697, we're getting 1482. In the test I'm getting 1488. I don't know. 1488 divided by 3697 is 0.402. So somehow 11% LifeDrain coupled with 6% skill 1 recovery coupled with 35% LifeDrain from vampire runes gives us 40.25% healing. So whatever. I mean, it doesn't really matter how much you're healing. The point is you're healing extra. I can't make any sense out of the math. I mean, it's kind of earlier in the morning. Maybe I'm sleepy, but yeah, it's funkiness. So anyways, I just thought I should show the effects of LifeDrain, and going back to the other day of recording now. So bye. I think it's best for passive healers like Perna, Raccoony, Molly, Tetra, and those guys. And it's pretty good for like Triana and Beta and Lulu, whose main thing is healing. You know, Annabelle, on the other hand, her main thing is cleansing and AoE defense breaking. So I think it's more important to probably get skill 3 accuracy and additional damage effects on Annabelle rather than her skill 2 recovery. That said, it's not a bad substat by any means. It's just, I think it's best for those passive healers because every time they take their turn, they're going to heal, and they're going to heal that much more. And that's just nice to have. So it's a pretty solid substat. That's not what I'm personally looking for all the time. I bet if I had Molly, I would be looking for it like crazy. But I don't have Molly. So, and I have a decent one already for my Tetra. And so it's like I don't really need any more at the moment anyways. I do have an okay one on Lulu. I think I have some recovery on my Fran, but I looked more for additional damage for Fran for her skill 1 and also skill 1 accuracy because I like landing that attack debuff. So it's just a decent substat. It's not priority number 1 in my eyes. Alright, so I think this video is getting long enough, so I'm gonna cut it here, and hopefully the part 2 will be released within a week or so of this video, and I'll talk about accuracy and the stats proportional to good or bad HP and minus crit damage received, and then the revive substats. I think that covers all of them at that point. But anyways, thank you for watching. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you all in the next video.